Standing toe-to-toe with Celtic. Here's your look at the new Hiya Toys AVP Alien vs. Predator Celtic Predator Exquisite Mini. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya Toys. Getting going with another AVP Exquisite Mini review, and my personal favorite of the three Predators in AVP. I've always been a big fan of Celtic, or Celtic's design, however you'd like to pronounce it. I'd like to thank the folks, though, over at Hiya Toys that provided this sample of Celtic that we have a look in this review. For some comparisons of sizes, we can move over Celtic that we're about to look at and bring in the previously looked at Scar. One thing that also benefits by bringing in the other figures, you can see by looking at them back and forth, it seems like they're sharing very much identical bodies. Some of the armor has changed, but I'm guessing most of the body underneath is going to be staying the same. The bodies aren't the only thing that's going to be staying the same. A lot of the accessories that come packed along with Celtic are in fact the exact same accessories that came included with Scar. More on that in a second. Starting first, included with Celtic, you get yourself the same floor-graded display stand. So it happens to be, yes, the same display stand that we got included with Scar. Now, if you'd like to attach more than one of these together, all you have to do is flip the display base. I know a lot of you guys already know how this works by now, but for the newcomers, the people new here and not familiar with Exquisite Minis, you basically get like these eye brackets. And located on the sides, see there's little slots. Last time I'll say slots. You take these eye brackets and you basically fit them inside those grooves, and then you take yourself another display stand and you attach the two together like this. I'm only really going with the one for the time being, but as you'll see, one is more than enough to keep the two together, and you have yourself two of the display stands attached together. Now you could rinse and repeat, continue to do this until you have yourself quite the large looking diorama. At one point, in fact, on my own personal display, I was actually taking some of the muddier terrain display stands that came included with the Predators, and I was actually hooking them up along with the ones that came included with the aliens. So I was actually getting like different terrain. So I like the fact that they still continue to do that with all these Exquisite Minis. We'll put that to the side, move the other eye bracket out of the way, and don't lose that, whatever you do. And let's have a look at the other accessories that come included with the figures. So picking these up first, you get the same combi sticks that came packed along with Scar Predator. There's literally nothing different between these and the ones that we got included with the previous Scar. They are nicely detailed combi sticks, whether you like to have the one more folded up like this in this hand, or you like to have the more extended variety. They're both made of a fairly soft plastic. It might have been even one thing I complimented Hiya Toys for doing when we looked at the Scar Predator. But it seems like all the accessories, they're using more of a softer plastic. I personally like the softer plastic because, like, when it comes to things, especially like the combi sticks, they're less likely to break. There's a little more give and a little more wiggle room to them. But very nicely detailed little staff weapons that can be fit into their hands. Something else also that can fit into their hand, too, is a smart disc. The smart disc is the same, yes, I know. It's the same one as we also got from Scar. It has some really nice work done to it, painted in a very nice silver color. Kind of more of a dark gunmetal silver than just a regular silver. And those can also fit into his hand as well. Now, he already has the means to hold all the accessories we just finished talking about, but he also comes with a couple of swappable hands, too. He comes with one that, if you want to take the disc, and instead of holding it, well, you know what, let's pick the figure up so you can see what I'm talking about here. The figure has already gripping hands at his disposal, so you can easily then take these hands and use the ones that are there and just pry the fingers away from the palm and sort of fit the smart disc in there. Again, I love the fact that they're using softer plastic when it comes to their hands, their accessories, all those things, because really it makes things a lot easier to fit them into their hands. Now that's with these hands. I'm going to take this out for the time being, put the figure down. I also want to draw your attention to this hand right here. Now this hand has more of a slot to it. So if you want to have the smart disc held this way, you can do that as well. I mean, it kind of gives you a different way of having the smart disc held in his hand, that's all. And then, like the Scar Predator, you also get yourself like a dynamic hand. Just got one with fingers spread out. I always like displaying Predator figures with hands like this. I don't know why. Always one hand is for gripping, and then the other hand is for showing off some jazz hands, or at least one jazz hand, singular jazz hand. So those are the accessories that come packaged along with Celtic. Let's go ahead and pick the figure up. And again, for some comparisons, we can bring in, not so much for size, but more so to show you that, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the bodies seem very much identical to one another. Now, it's not to say that the Predators don't look unique from one another, because, I mean, really, when you're looking at them, the armor is very much different. Like the Scar Predator that we looked at before has that strip that connects the top of his armor to like his lower skirting. Celtic Predator doesn't have that. They both still have chunkier looking armor, which does make their torsos look a lot thicker. I don't think I see it as much here on the Celtic that I do with the Scar Predator, even though, yeah, they're using the exact same bodies. This one does also have the sashed bandolier of skulls on the side of his torso, whereas this one here has the necklace. The skirting is similar enough. There's the smart discs already sculpted in. The smaller version of the smart disc, they do have the skirting on the side, which is very similar to one another. And like the Scar Predator, yes, they do have the exact same pronged, let me just pull this out, little pronged blade weapon. That again, it was really nice to see that both the Predators had that, even though when you take them out of the packaging, I mean, it looks like this, right? You just assume, okay, well, let's mold it into the leg. But like I did with the Scar, pulled it right out, and there's the kind of little pronged blade that he has. We'll fit that back into it. And by the way, also too, you can take that, fit that into his hand. Because I'm sure you guys would be curious. Well, does he have the means to hold it in his hand? Yes, he does. You can put that into his hand as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put that, I'm going to holster that back into his leg for the fear that I'm going to drop that and lose that somewhere. I don't really want to lose this. I'll lose any of the accessories, really. The other interesting thing, like in the movie, though, if you look to the side of Celtic Predator, while he does have the backpack, what is missing, though, is the shoulder-mounted cannon. So the plasma caster cannon is actually gone. Again, like in the movie. If you look at, though, on Scar, Scar has his. And I like the little attention to detail that they put onto the figure. So let's move on completely, 100% legitimately, and talk about Celtic's design. One of my all-time favorite Predator head sculpts, well, at least the helmet that he wears. Really love that. There's always been a fascination with Celtic's helmet. And maybe one of the reasons why I end up liking this one a lot more than Scar. It just has a lot more character going to the helmet. The silver seems to be the same, kind of, again, this dark gunmetal gray. But underneath that, of course, is your regular Predator Yautja body, which has some nice meshing to it and little spots. They've airbrushed nicely, too, which I feel like I glossed over a lot when we looked at the Scar Predator. I love this airbrushing that they've done to it. Really accents not only the abdomen muscles, but all the details on his body underneath the armor here. Of course, he's got the longer dreads. The dreads don't interfere as much with the cannon because, of course, the cannon in this case is completely absent. But he does have these long dreads that run out the front of the figure's head, run the front of the figure's torso, and he has long ones draping out the back there as well. We can kind of just move them out of the way like I'm parting curtains. You kind of see the detail work that they put on the back. Now, this guy does have the peg, and located on the back of the figure, I completely overlooked it here on Scar, but he does actually have a little clip. Both of them have those clips that if you want to take the retracted version of the combi stick, just move his hair out of the way, and there's a clip that's right there. I didn't even notice it until after I finished the review, and I sort of was sitting down and spending some time with the Predators, that I noticed that it was there. Now, mind you, though, I do have some problem getting it to fit in place. You can see where the clip is and how the combi stick just barely attaches in there. You may, in fact, even want to have it further up and kind of just clip it on like that. But I feel like it drapes. There it goes. I knew I was going to drop it. It sort of then just drapes the combi stick further down. You may want to have a little... Actually, you know what I might even just do? See if I can heat that up a little bit with a hairdryer. So at least it will accommodate the midpoint area of the handle of the combi stick. Again, I'll just plug it right there. Didn't even notice it. Didn't even notice it when I was looking at the Scar Predator. But I certainly did want to rectify when we were looking at Celtic here. Similar to Scar as well, Celtic does have the retractable blade. These extend out by a fair bit, not by much. Like, just, well, that's where it starts. That's where it ends. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. And again, a nice softer plastic that they've used for the blades. A little less likely to break. That's always a good thing. Yes, indeed, while he still pretty much has the same building blocks of the original Scar Predator, I will say it works quite well here for Celtic. I know I'm probably sounding a bit biased by saying that because I'm just already smitten by that helmet head sculpt. But I think it looks so nicely handled here when we're looking at the Celtic version Exquisite Mini. All right. Let's have a look at the articulation now on Celtic Predator. One of the things that benefits this figure is because he doesn't have the cannon to worry about. You get more of a range when it comes to rotating his head back and forth. It sits on a ball peg, so it can move back and forth this way. You can move it head up, down, and you can technically rock it back and forth as well. As it goes for his shoulders, the shoulders can hinge out at almost a 90-degree angle bend. I guess you could probably fight it just a little bit more to get that 90, but there we go. It's just a really tight on this figure. I didn't want to break the arms. Though I will say, though, the construction of the way they've built these figures, the joints feel nice and tight. The plastic feels a good quality. Also, I've noticed this build of Predator, when they're using the thicker bodies like they have with the Predators line, the Tracker, the Berserker, and the Falconer, I find like their bodies seem like a little more durable than the original thinner Predators that they produced before. The arms move forward, the arms move back. He does have a swivel in the bicep. That's the same as Scar. Does have also the same double hinge on the elbow. The hands work also the same way. You can rotate those back and forth. Upper torso is on a ball joint. Lower torso is also on a ball joint. And because, again, he doesn't have that piece of armor that goes from here and attaches to the lower skirt, again, move this guy over and bring in the Scar Predator. Because he doesn't have that, I feel a little more comfortable, it seems, when it comes to rotating his torso. Like I can be a little more aggressive with it. So again, up and down, back and forth. Same thing applies for also the lower area too, that attaches to his waist. Legs split out. You'll see as well the skirting is more of a softer plastic, so that also helps. But the legs go out. You can bring them forward. You can bring them back. Swivel at the top of the thigh. Double hinge on the knee. A very generous hinge on that knee. A little loose, I noticed, though, on Celtic than I did notice on Scar Predator. But still, it's more than enough for the figure still to stand properly. You can move the feet back and forth this way, and you can also ankle pivot them too. And there is the Celtic Predator. Personal favorite of mine of the ones that we've looked at so far. And again, we'll put down Celtic Predator. Get him to properly stand. And again, if you have any issues with these figures standing, by all means, bring in the display stand. That's why they're there in the first place. So we have Scar. We have Celtic. The only thing that's missing right now is Chopper, which is also one that Hiya Toys have produced. So if you're looking to pick up the trio of Predators, the trio of amateur Predators granted in AVP, you'll be in luck. AVP Predator figures, Exquisite Minis at least, have all three of them produced by the folks over at Hiya Toys. In my recent reviews of the Exquisite Mini Predators, the Predators being Falconer, Berserker, and Tracker Predator, I made the comment that Hiya Toys, I don't know, I felt like the figures upped their game, or at least Hiya Toys upped their game when producing those figures, that they felt like they were better quality. The bodies felt a little more durable, the joints felt more solid, and comparing them to the earlier Exquisite Minis that Hiya Toys had produced years prior, I felt like the Predators, with the S on the end of it, ended up being better scaled Exquisite Minis. They felt like they were a little more solid in hand. The trend seems to be continued here with the AVPs. So far, we've looked at only Celtic and Scar, with only really Chopper left behind. But I've noticed with these figures, they've done something different to the way that they're building these figures, because I feel like the joints, again, are a lot more solid, and the plastic feels a lot more dense. Not dense in all the areas, mind you, like the hands and the accessories are still a softer plastic, which is actually, I'm glad that they're using still that softer plastic. It's a lot easier to get weapons held in these characters' hands. But I feel like the figures feel a lot better and more sturdy when you're holding them. Now, of course, we've already looked at two Predators. I'm still looking forward to opening up and have a look at the Chopper Predator, which you got to imagine is pretty much going to be the same type of body with just a slight variation of the armor and a different head sculpt. Of course, going back to the idea of head sculpt, Celtic Predator still by far is my favorite Predator design. Of course, not counting the original Jungle Hunter. I've always been a big fan of Celtic Predator, so I really should have started these reviews looking at Celtic first, but being that Scar was sort of the survivor, I thought, you know what, I should really throw him a bone, a human bone, and maybe have a look at him first. Then we looked at Celtic, and I gotta admit, between the two, Celtic is my favorite. I really like the way that this one turned out. Admittingly, yes, his torso is still a little on the thick side, but it doesn't seem as thick as when we looked at Scar. maybe a lot of it has to do with that you can still see his midriff. Yes, we're drawing everyone's attention to the Predator's midriff, but that might help to make him look a little smaller in frame than the scar we looked at before. I still love the way that this guy looks. Super articulated as well, because really when you think of a figure this size, you're almost surprised with the amount of articulation that they were able to cram into a figure, like I said, this small. But Celtic Predator does deliver a rather nice looking Predator that takes up a whole lot less space when you're putting this guy on a shelf. A big thank you, though, to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provided this sample of the AVP Alien vs. Predator Celtic Exquisite Mini, a personal favorite of mine. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And for your video question for today, what's your favorite Predator? What's your favorite Predator design? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys are new, by the way, to this channel, somehow just ended up, I know we have kind of a dirt road outside the studio. Somebody just dropped you off here, stay here for a bit, and you've wandered yourself in from outside, come on in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you turn on the bell notification. Make sure a new person stumbling in from out of town that you're keeping your peepers peeled to this channel, because we will in fact be looking at more Predators, Aliens, and other exquisite minis from the folks over at Hiya Toys. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.